President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has extended the validity of the old 200 Naira note till April 10, 2023, announcing the development in a televised nationwide address on Thursday. The president said all existing old 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira notes remain redeemable at the Central Bank of Nigeria and designated points. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to citizens, Buhari, however, urges CBN to release the circulation of old 200 Naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10, 2023 to April 10, 2023.
200 Naira banknotes be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 Naira notes ceases to be legal tender. In line with Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act 2007, all existing old 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira notes remain redeemable at CBN and designated points. Considering the health of our economy and the legacy we must bequeath to the next administration and future generations of Nigerians, I admonish every citizen to strive harder to make their deposits by taking advantage of the platforms and windows being provided by the CBN.
Joining me on the news to discuss the president's address is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Mahmoud Abdul. Thank you so much, Mahmoud, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I bet you listened to the presidential speech by President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, what are the legal implications of the president's speech directing the Central Bank of Nigeria to allow the old 200 Naira notes to circulate as a legal tender for the next 60 days?
At the level of public policy, what the government has done or the president has done is to put a handle on what appears to be monetary economic crisis that has engulfed Nigeria, and also constitutional crisis if we relate it to the Supreme Court intervention, all in an attempt to resolve the currency logjam, that the country is facing at the moment. Perhaps at the level of empathy and sympathy, what the president has done is to show that the government is willing to listen to Nigerians, is actually listening to Nigerians, and has established some mechanism for reprieve, in the sense that those who hold the 200 Naira notes can now use their notes as redeemable notes. But it also raises fundamental problems as they relate to the independence of the central bank. If you look at the Central Bank Act itself, it grants wholesome independence to the central bank. With the increasing incursion of our courts on somewhat interpretation of the powers of the central bank, and also the government intervention through President Buhari, we begin to see careful and gradual erosion of that independence granted by the Central Bank Act to the central bank. The question of the monetary direction of a nation's economy is within the purview of powers of the central bank. But here, with Buhari's national address this morning, what we see is the executive branch dabbling into a public policy decision, albeit monetary, of the central bank. I don't think it will address the fundamental problem of governance as it relates to separation of powers.
Well, some have actually argued that the president's directive amounts to executive rascality. Some have even tagged it brazen disregard for the rule of law and contempt of the Supreme Court, which actually ruled that the 200 naira, 500 naira, and of course 1,000 naira old notes should still be recognized by the Nigerian government and by Nigerians as a legal tender. As a lawyer, don't you think that in a democratic setting that the rule of law should reign supreme and the government should actually obey the verdict of the Supreme Court?
I empathize with those who make this argument. I also empathize with the Supreme Court itself. We are not dealing with, in strict sense, the limit of powers exercised by central bank. What we are dealing with here is the exercise of the public policy powers of the central bank, albeit monetary. What I expect the courts to do through the Federal High Court Order Section 251 is, listen to parties before it who have brought cases on judicial review of the public policy powers of the central bank before it. I think what the Supreme Court has done is assume jurisdiction over a matter that is not within the precinct of its powers, the due precinct of powers. So, do I have empathy for it? I do, because the Supreme Court has not carefully, looked at its powers before. Did not carefully looked at its powers before assuming jurisdiction over a matter that was brought before it last week. And yes, would it be within the economic wisdom, if you like, of the economic branch to allow the nation state to slip into economic quagmire without interfering? For me, what the government has done is what ordinary Nigerians expect the executive branch to do. The order that was granted by the Supreme Court, who was the order granted against? It was granted against the Nigerian Federation. It is not within the powers of Nigerian Federation to comply, with the order of the Supreme Court. The very institution that initiated the public policy, that is executing its public policy order, was not made a party to the case before the Supreme Court. So I empathize with the court for dabbling into what appears, a public policy issue, not a matter of strictly law.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mahmud, for joining us on the news. We hope that something will be done in time to just ease the suffering of Nigerians.